Good evening. Welcome into the Lake County Sports Scoop for a Monday, right in the heart of May. Beautiful weather outside, but we're indoors, passing along what's going on in spring sports. Dominic Pavel in studio and Rusty Silver here with you today. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of things in the, should we say, the later stages of the school year. I don't know how to put this because there's been some of the I guess you'd say some of the schools have had proms already. Graduations are right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But yet some of the sports are not going to get concluded until the early or almost middle part of June.
Yeah.
But we've got some sports already getting to the sectionals. Badminton, I know, had sectionals this last week. They'll have their state coming up this weekend. Stevenson's on a roll. They're looking for another title. They have won a lot of titles in the last decade when it comes to badminton.
Yeah, they got a domination going on over there.
It's a dynasty.
Yeah, it is a dynasty.
So, also some other sports, believe it or not. We're going to actually, I hate to hook this up, but we're going to talk bass fishing with Dale Bauman. You ever take up fishing?
No, I used to go fishing a lot actually. When I was in high school, there was I had a group of friends and I would always go hit a couple of the ponds in the neighborhoods and then fish on the lakes. And I went to high school in Georgia, so there was plenty of opportunity to go fishing.
Did you know that Illinois is the first state out of the United States that jumped into the bass fishing as a competitive competition? Did you know that?
I do know.
We're going back 16 years when this started, and this year, as my interview with Dale Bauman coming up, will say they have the most schools involved.
I think college
329.
I think college sports started bass fishing in 2000, 2001, because I know my alma mater, Western Illinois, won a natty title. Early 2000s.
Do you remember on ESPN they used to have the bass fishing?
They still do.
Yeah, I forgot what they called it.
Bassmasters.
Bassmasters. That's what it is. And I know they're sponsored, and everything, but that was so big, and that's why it got to be popular. I think amongst the colleges and the high schools now.
Yeah, ESPN let it go, and there's unless they probably own who knows who owns what stations now, but it's on the Outdoor Network. It's on a couple, maybe it's on the ESPN Ocho, or sometimes it's on there. Fox Sports usually runs it. Fox Sports 1 will usually run it too. You'll see it. You'll still see it around a lot. It's really cool now. I watched it a couple weeks ago, and when you catch a fish, each boat has like an official in there, so you're not really waiting for the weigh-in at the end of the day. They're weighing the fish in the boat. And then the official will categorize it on his little iPad, put the weight of the fish in, and then you'll have up to date, standings with how many fish or how much pounds you've caught or whatever. It's pretty interesting, pretty cool to see.
That sounds more tempting. I mean, I have never seen a bass fishing competition. I've heard about it. I've seen pictures from it. Dale Bauman, he goes down there every year because he writes with this Struggle Sun Times, and part of his outdoors types work that he does, he loves that stuff. And, it fits him so well. Really
I never see like in the Daily Herald or anything. I never see it. The schedule or anything, or to be able to go out there. So it's I've
never seen a newspaper do any coverage on bass fishing. Now you got to understand, it's not really an IHSA sanctioned sport. It's more like an activity, but it's a competition.
It's a competitive. Maloney told me this, Coach Maloney at Antioch. It's a competitive club activity right now.
Oh yeah, and you got to understand.
I didn't know there was categories.
Yeah, but you mentioned Antioch. Antioch is one of the schools. That Dale's going to talk about. That is one of the leaders of competition in the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
And they've got a great coach that came over from Zion, and they've really made this something to be heard of.
They lost a really good fisherman and a senior, Jason Liu, who played basketball for us. He had to have elbow surgery after the basketball season.
No.
Yeah.
So he can't fish either?
He couldn't. Well, he can. He's got to be off. He had to be off the elbow. He's not even cleared yet.
Wait a minute. He's got one. He's still got another arm.
Yeah.
So why can't you sit there? That's a great story. Think about this. He's got surgery on one arm. The other arm he's fishing, but you need balance on both to pull that fish in.
To set the hook. You need balance on both hands to set the hook and then to reel it in.
That'd be a heck of a story.
Yeah. He actually
injured fisherman still catching fish and going to win state. Come on.
He committed to Oakton College, community college, to play basketball. He's gonna play there. You're gonna give him an opportunity.
No, wait a minute. I thought you were gonna tell me he committed to go do bass fishing at Oakton College.
No, but we laughed. There's a running joke between the coaches. Oakton has a huge pond. If you've ever been to Oakton Community College, in the back, and they stocked it and everything. It's stocked with all kinds of fish, whatever.
That's over in Des Plaines.
Yeah,
because they have two campuses.
Yeah.
One's the old
golf
campus.
Road golf road
I would say the other one in Skokie. That's the old Niles East High School.
Yeah.
And that's where they also filmed the movie. I believe that was Breakfast Club.
No, I thought that was Niles North High School.
No, it wasn't Niles North. It was
Niles East. No, it was Maine North High School.
Maine North was the Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, yes. That's what you just said, didn't you?
Oh, did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Breakfast Club was the one over by Maine North.
Yeah.
The one at Niles East where the community college is at, that's 16 campus.
And actually, the Breakfast Club, the library, was a stage built inside the gym at the high school. So
the only thing that gets me about that old school, believe it or not, it was called Maine North. Why do you build a high school with no windows? That's what got me about that school. I don't understand that. Nowadays, if you go over there, it's a state police headquarters. Well, gee, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I just don't understand how you build a high school that way. But whatever plans that they had, they came up with these ideas, and they thought it was good back in the 70s. I don't get that. Many years ago.
Yeah, but it
was only open for 10 years for those people that didn't know that.
They should have kept it open, but the main.
Well, there's been other schools that have that same situation. I know Lincoln Way North was only open for about 10 years too, and that was a new facility.
Yeah,
and they gave it up, and then you had Lincoln Way East, Central, and West that combined.
Yeah,
now I heard something today too.
It's just Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way East now.
Neuqua Valley is closing their freshman campus. And their boys gymnastics or girls gymnastics team is a co-op right now, but they want to dissolve it.
Yeah.
And I had gotten a notice.
They did away with boys gymnastics, right?
Well, boys is out. It's only a club sport now. But on the girls' side, it's a co-op around the valley is what they call it. Wamanzi Valley, Neuqua Valley. Sure, it's out of our area, but there is some concern about this because if they dissolve that area, it's another team or school. Even though it's a co-op and they want to do away with co-ops, that's going to be out of the equation. And your numbers are going down on girls gymnastics. And if it gets to a certain point, they may push out girls gymnastics.
A lot of the look, I'm going to step on some toes here. A lot of the girls gymnastics, I'll just say gymnastics in general, the very, very good coaches are at the club level. And the exposure and all that stuff is at the club level. And you get a lot of high schools. You might get a kid who did gymnastics in high school, right? And it was could be good and everything, but playing and coaching are totally two different things. And in kids nowadays, it's so competitive that you want to have a good coach that has the experience and has the network to help you get recruited to possibly go to college to for gymnastics. We'll use gymnastics. And a lot of the high schools just don't hire club coaches. They hire somebody in the building, and and that's what happens. I mean, I know a couple of instances where kids left a private school in our area and then went to a public school that had better coaching at the club level, and it was a better opportunity, and she got a collegiate opportunity, and did very well.
Hey, while we're on that topic, before we get to our interview. I have noticed in the last week or two, now we didn't have a show last week because of certain situations, but some of the athletes are starting to sign on in different places. And we've said this the last couple of years, that it's tougher for the athlete to sign, whether it's football, basketball, soccer, various sports, because of that transfer portal. And maybe the NILs too, that these athletes are not really getting the opportunity until the end of the school year as a senior. And, I hate this, but I'm glad I'm seeing some of these kids latching on, whether it's a junior college, a Division II school, Division III. I've been starting to see some names, popping up that are seniors getting the opportunity for next year. But I've also run into some parents, and we've had some conversations on some of these fields about the fact that it's harder to get a scholarship these days than what it used to be.
It's not harder. Okay, this is what I'll say. The opportunity to go Division One, because when everyone talks about being recruited and the transfer portal and the high school recruitment, it's the Division One opportunity.
Mhm.
What's really happening now is that the reality of your child's skill level is coming into fruition, right? Your child, maybe there was an opportunity to go low major Division One, mid major Division One, and now the portal is taking away those opportunities because so many kids are transferring. Now the colleges aren't really taking seniors in high school. You know, they're not looking at seniors. So they're getting other, whether it be, so the really opportunity is at the NAIA Division One and JUCO. If you're not losing your eligibility,
that's a new thing this year that was put forth, and that's beneficial because you can still have that 4 years of eligibility if you can transfer from that JUCO, NAIA, or Division II, Division III.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I've learned in my 25 years of coaching club basketball and then coaching high school basketball now for 10 years is, what the reality is, your kid is probably not a Division I kid. And all the parents can sit there and look, and I'm one that, when my son went through it too, the level is their level, right? And so when you're saying like, oh, he could be a Division I kid, he's got to focus on baseball. Like, no, your kid is a D2, D3 kid, right? He's an NAIA kid, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want, you have to put in the work, and it's a job when you go to college, and that's the level you're going to be at. And a lot of parents don't want to hear it,
Of course not.
No,
but the thing is, they don't realize too, you can still get some what they call scholarship money, but it's more towards your tuition, your room and board. You're going to get something out of it if you go to
absolutely. And let's be honest, like 90% of the parents out there who are complaining about their kid not getting recruited have no clue what it takes to help your kid get recruited. I don't see you going to the camps. I don't see you going to the college camps. I don't see you going for baseball, going to the PBR showcases, going to the big showcases like that, or going to the college camps to help your kid get recruited or to play on. There are so many travel club teams now. I mean, I'll go with my experience just at Antioch and everything. You got two parents who started club teams, travel baseball teams for their kid. Like, no college, it's too hard for a college to go find a certain travel team and say, oh, this team's going to be good and recruit that kid. They go with the teams that have the experience, the club teams that have the experience, the club teams that have the brand and the knowledge and everything. And that's where so much in the last 20 years, so much of, even in basketball, so much of it is watered down. I was just in a tournament this past weekend. There's 20 teams in our division I had never even heard of, and I've been around for 20 years. It's just like everyone puts a lead on the name of their on their team, and they start and they go play in the same tournaments, and they think that's going to get their kid recruited. When the parent usually who puts it together doesn't know doo-doo about coaching or recruiting or anything.
You just made it sound messy. The easier way to do it, go out, find some information, look it up. Talk to people. That's what we're trying to help you in this case.
But every parent doesn't want to hear that their kid is on our club team, right? We have an Adidas sponsored team. The top team is Adidas sponsored team, and I coach the second team. There's nothing wrong with being on the second team. You're going to get recruited just because of the network of our pro, the branding of our club, and everything. So the parents get there and they start these new teams, and they think that that's going to help them, and it's not going to help them at all.
All right. Good topic. And I believe we'll talk a little bit more. We got a couple more weeks, but as a parent out there, if you're not sure, ask questions. You can call your school, talk to the coaches, ask around, help your kid out.
No, absolutely.
You want your kids to go to college, you want to see them go somewhere, it could happen, but you got to help them out.
I can make one phone call and get you an opportunity at a college. It's really, really simple, but it's the level that which you're going to be. I'm not going to sit there and call Brad Underwood and sit there and say, hey, Brad, I got a 5'10" kid, he's a great kid and everything, because he's great for Illinois. No, I'm not going to do that.
He's probably hanging the phone up on you.
I know Brad, though.
All right. Hey, let's get over to bass fishing. Dale Bauman from the Sun-Times, we hooked him up, pardon my pun, on Saturday. We had him in there talking about it. He's been around. Great topic to talk about, because bass fishing actually starts regionals this Thursday. They changed this around this year. Dale's got all the details. Let's hear from him. You
Good.
Dale, by the way, first I want to thank you for coming on board. Pardon the pun, but we like when you're around when it comes to bass fishing. And bass fishing is starting up this week for high schools. And I took note of this. This is the year that has the most schools than any other year out of all the years that we've done this. It's up to 329 schools.
Yes, it also has big changes too. It's went to a regional sectional format this year. So that's a significant change. And then it's also moving venue to Lake Shelbyville from Carlisle Lake.
So what's your thoughts about these changes? Are you for it? Do you like it?
Well, I like the concept of going to regional sections. The concept is excellent. I mean, it gives a lot more respect to the kids and the fishermen and the bass fishing in general. The problem is getting it off the ground. The IHSA has some kinks they need to get worked out, and it really matters in your area. The regional on the chain of lakes has 14 teams in it, and 6 teams get to advance out of the regional to the sectional. Now, the problem is that's 14 teams. 2 of the downstate regionals only have eight schools in. So the odds of somebody advancing are hugely different. And, you and I both have covered a lot of high school sports over our lifetime, but I don't ever remember that being that kind of disparity in a regional, being able to advance out of a regional.
Well, I was going to say consistency is a good idea to make it equal across the board, but I think this shows a little more favoritism downstate with less teams opposed to teams that are up here.
Yeah, I mean, that thought certainly crossed my mind. It's the other thought that crossed my mind is the Chain of Lakes area produces some of the stronger programs, and in part because the Chain of Lakes, the lakes around Lake and McHenry counties. So it almost seems like they're punishing some of the better areas, but it's the disparity is pretty different. Now I talked to Chris Schwartz, who's the new head of the bass fishing, and he acknowledged that they have some problems. That there are things they need to work through, and so and trust me, the coaches let them know about that. So this year it's going to be, put it this way. If you're allowed to send 2 boats, if you have 2 boats, if you're at one of the downstate regionals with 8 schools and all 8 of them only send 1 boat, you'd have a 75% chance of making sectional. And even if all the 8 schools send 2 boats, you would still have 37.5 chance of making sectional. So, I mean, you basically not with one of your boats. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty staggering. Whereas the Chain of Lakes regional with 14, and I'm pretty sure I looked at all the schools, and I think all the schools will have 2 boats, means your chance of making sectional is around 21%. Mm-hmm. So now that's a huge difference. So.
Now I'm glad you got all the analytics together. You really did well on that.
Thank you. How many people turned the dial? So.
No, but the thing is, though, the cold or cool weather, we always talk about this, how much this plays into this. The weather hasn't been that warm up here. And, it's been on the cool side pretty much. I know downstate it's been much warmer, but what are we looking at for these fishermen going out there? Are they going to be able to catch fish the way they want to?
Yes, actually. And since I think you've had me on from the very beginning, if I remember.
Yeah, a bunch of years, yeah.
The first few years, they had it in April. The sectional would be in April, which up here, I mean, there were years that the ice had just gone off a few weeks before. So, I mean, at least they got it into May now. As it happens this year, it looks ideal for up here. I think the bass will be bedding And I think there'll be some big fish come in off of places like the Chain and Bussy and that kind of thing. I think there's real potential for, I think the timing for a change looks good. And I think Thursdays to be like in the 80s, which means some of the back channels on the Chain will really be warming up quickly. So.
Hi, Dale. It's Bruce. Just for those who don't know, I believe Lake Shelbyville is that west of Mattoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, are you going to be fishing small and large bass?
No, that is strictly largemouth.
Largemouth. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
I should. They might have a few of the what's called a spotted bass, which is. But I think that's below the dam. I think it's all largemouth bass above the dam.
I was just checking the water temperatures at Lake Shelbyville. They have it listed as mid-50s. That's going to be a little bit difficult, isn't it, with the cooler water?
Well, they will. The state finals are actually going to be at a pretty ideal time. I think it's the 6th and 7th of June.
Oh, that should be prime time.
Because I think because next Thursday is the are the sectionals, and then I think the weekend after that is Memorial Day weekend. If my head is working right, is that right?
Yep, you got it right. I'm looking at the calendar. You're on.
So they have it the 6th and 7th of June, which is it's been that late before a couple times, but always because of floodwaters when it got pushed that far back. But.
Mm-hmm. So going into June, then your water temperatures will be closer to 70, which is probably one of your best temperatures.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want 65 is kind of the starter, and 65, 70. That's Bruce. You're right. That's right where you want to be. So I mean that's.
Dale, I know we got to talk about the teams. We've had teams from Lake County that have won this event. They finished in the top 3. Do we expect any of those to be there again?
Yes, I'm not promoting betting, but if I was betting, I would definitely bet on Antioch sending at least one boat, and I would think there'd be a good chance of sending 2. They had a tremendous conference tournament on the Chain, and they're back there, and they would be there for the sectional too. So I would definitely watch them. I mean, there are other schools around that you got to watch too. Stevenson's a powerhouse. I mean, they have kids who are just the real deal. So I mean, those would be the 2 I would watch most. But I mean, there's about a half a dozen others that are legitimate programs. So but those 2 in particular, I would say are the ones to watch. And you can mark that down and then see how close I am.
Mm-hmm. I've got it down on tape. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Along with the real. I'm just going along with this very well.
We will never, ever get off the thing of tape. I don't care if it's 2085, it's going to be the tape, which is shot by then, but nevertheless.
Hey, Dale, now help me out. How many people are in the boat? It could be boys and girls mixed. What are the rules kind of go along with this for those people that are just learning how bass fishing works?
Yes. The way it is that you're allowed 2 fishermen. It can be a boy or a girl. They just have to meet the usual criteria to participate. It is technically an activity and not a sport under IHSA rules. Some minor differences there. Each school is allowed to send 2 boats to the regional. And most schools can do that. Some schools, for whatever reason, they can't find a boat or they don't have enough kids, don't do it. I think I forgot to double check this, but I think the regulations are still fish have to be at least 12 inches and you keep the 5 heaviest ones. It's determined not by inches, but by weight of the fish. And so you can bring up to 5 to the scale to weigh. So you want to keep your 5 heaviest fish to take. And depending where you're at, like on the Chain of Lakes, it's both smallmouth and largemouth. It's technically the term is black bass, which includes smallmouth, largemouth, and spotted bass. I'm trying to think, am I missing anything? Oh,
Now-
and then have a boat driver. And usually the boat driver is a coach or one of the coaches. Sometimes it's just like a parent or a bass club guy who volunteers to drive, and the coach can ride along. So that you could have a coach and a boat driver and the two kids.
And what's the time frame? Is it 7 to 3? How does it work?
It varies. You got to have it. You can schedule it for 6 to 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they do for 8 hours. And then you have to have a minimum of 2.5 because, it's an outdoor event and weather can impact. If lightning starts, it's instantly done.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's at least a half hour between. I think the IHA still does a half hour after the last. Is it thunder or visible lightning bolt? Whatever it is, it's something. But
it's a half hour after the last sound of thunder.
Yeah, the 30 minute rule.
Sound of thunder. Okay, I couldn't remember what the exact was. So.
Now, what about for bait? We've talked about this in the past. How does that work?
It's all artificial presentations. So this time of the year, you'll probably be throwing some jigs. There'll be some spinner baits. And if the weather warms up as much as they're forecasting, it could be a whole variety of baits. There could even be top waters used and buzz baits, which are things that are more surface lures.
Mm-hmm.
But I would suspect that jigs, at least for the big fish, jigs or worm imitations would be the primary one, because I think the fish will be bedding, and that's probably the fish that they will be targeting the most.
Just a little bit off topic. For those who want to fish in the Skokie Lagoons, which is nearby Lake County, Cook County, isn't there a whole bunch of fish, different types of fish you can fish in that lagoon?
Yes, and by the way, they are hosting a regional. They've held a sectional there for many, many years. Well, from the very beginning, and they're hosting a regional there. Yes, they have quality bass. It's not I wouldn't consider it a great bass fishery, but it's a quality bass fishery. Probably the thing that it's more known for is crappie and bluegill. That are two of the ones that I would say are probably their strongest suited Skokie Lagoons. It's a pretty good bluegill fishery, and if you're skilled at crappie, that's pretty good crappie fishery too, especially considering it gets fairly heavily pressured. People use Skokie Lagoons.
Is there any? I've heard people say they've caught walleye there too.
Yes, it's possible.
Rusty?
All right. Well, Dale.
That's not where I would go to catch walleye, Bruce. But
Okay.
Bruce is always looking for extra tips and extra ways.
I kind of figured when you didn't comment after that, I said, okay, we're not going to catch walleye in the Skokie Lagoon.
Yeah.
So, all right, Dale, we do appreciate your time for coming on.
One day we have to have Dale in studio.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe after the event. Are you headed down there, by the way, for the final?
I think I'm going down because it's at a new venue, and I should write a little bit about that, too, and what it's like. So.
And by the way, what do you write, and who do you write for?
I write for the Chicago Sun-Times, and I just went semi-retired this week. I stopped doing the Wednesday column and fishing report, and I'm strictly doing the 2 pages on Sunday.
Oh,
and this week it's about the definitive work of fish around the Chicago area, and called the Fishes of the Chicago Region. It's put out by University of Chicago Press.
Mm-hmm.
So you can act impressed that we got a fish book out of University of Chicago.
And the best thing is, for as long as bass fishing has been part of Illinois, Dale Bauman has been on our show each and every year to talk about it.
That's absolutely right. That's pretty incredible streak.
That 18 years?
Hey, you know something, Dale? I don't mean to push this, but we deserve a little bit of notoriety. On your column, maybe.
I know you do. Dale, I know you do. I don't know about Rusty, but we know you do.
I'm just looking for an extra bit of writing in there, Dale.
I don't blame you.
But think about it. I think is this our 15th year that we've done this?
15th or 16th.
Could be.
We missed one, didn't they? I'm trying to remember. Did they fish 2020 or?
They might have missed that one, but the thing is, you've been on every year that there's been one, and that's the amazing thing. I mean, we're in our 18th year. I think it's 18 years that we've been doing this show on Saturdays, and you've been around it each and every year.
As long as there's fish, there's Dale.
Hey, I like that.
All right, there you go. That was from Saturday on the Sports Corner, and yes, we had a little banter going on there, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, Dale Bauman, you know, one thing, Dom, he's been there each and every year. He's gone down there, he's covered it, and you won't find anybody else that's going to give you in-depth coverage on bass fishing like Dale does, because he's an outdoors guy, and that's what makes it count.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, you got to have a passion for something, right? So it's, you know, I love fishing too, but I don't know about driving an hour and a half to cover a high school bass fishing tournament.
It's further than that.
That's a club sport.
Lake Shelbyville's, that's going down to the east side of the state.
Oh,
that's about 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours to get down.
Oh, yeah. So. Well, you got, there are high schools south of 80, and that's all those guys ever do is fish anyway.
All right. We got to hit a break. We'll come back. We're going to talk some volleyball. And we got a special guest to come on in the later half of the show. Probably one of the best basketball players we've seen in the area in a long time. So more to come right after this on the Lake County Sports Scoop.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Sports broadcasting on 98.3 The Life is brought to you in part by the law offices of O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno PC. 98.3 The Life has an ongoing commitment to Lake County and local high school sports broadcasting. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno also has that commitment and is privileged to support high school sports on local radio. If O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno can assist you in a real estate transaction or traffic matter, they can be reached at 847-675-4790. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno, dedicated to serving our community.
Hello, this is Ted Schneider, host of Improv Leadership, coming to you live on 98.3 FM The Life, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'll discuss a variety of topics from relationship advice, self-improvement topics, motivational topics, mindful living, current events, book reviews, and even an occasional guest in the studio. So please join me on Improv Leadership, Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on 98.3 FM The Life, or streaming live on 983thelife.com.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the IHSA, are the 333,000 high school sports and performing arts students in Illinois. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, debate team members, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, officials, and adjudicators. We stand for the drummers, football players, and actors. We stand for the golfers, singers, and swimmers. We stand as the national leader and advocate for these essential activities and all who participate in them and make them possible, because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Kids don't come with instructions, but Lantern can give you some tips to make caring for a child a little easier. Lantern puts expert advice directly into the hands of parents and caregivers. Receive practical tips, games, and activities based on your child's age. Sign up now by texting UWLC to 274-448. Lantern is here to light the way. Lantern from United Way of Lake County. This message is brought to you by UCC Environmental.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Welcome back to the Lake County Sports Scoop for a Monday. What a delightful evening outside. We got some clouds. There was some sprinkles around. I don't know what that was. I think somebody was dropping rain on my windshield on the way over to the studio today. I guess it's possible you call those spring-like showers or something like that. that
Today?
pop up around the area. Yeah, this afternoon on my way over about 3:30, 4 o'clock. But
Oh,
they're gone now. But
Yeah.
there is a chance of rain later on tonight. And 70s foreseeable future in the next few days. That sounds pretty nice compared to what we have been going through. A little bit breeze off the lake. If you're right at the lake, it'll be in the 60s. But 70s around 80 for the next few days. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be, I hope. So we'll see how long that's going to last. Hey, we got to talk about another sport that's starting to finish up, and that's boys volleyball. And I've been really after this coach all spring long, Dominic, because Lake Zurich boys volleyball team 25-3 this year.
Wow.
I think they're under the radar, but the North Suburban Conference is so good.
Yeah.
And I had to catch up to Brett Stewart. So let's hear what he had to talk about his team and the competition value in the area. The program, the boys volleyball coach over at Lake Zurich High School, and that's Brett Stewart. Brett, how you doing today?
Doing well, Rusty. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been trying to, really get the hit, the bump, everything else. I got a lot of puns here, so don't mind me. But I've been trying to catch up with you all season long because Lake Zurich has had an outstanding volleyball team that nobody knows about. You've had a great season.
Yeah, we have so far. So we're 26-3 on the season now. We are 4-1 in conference, and we're playing great. We've had success at our tournaments, and we've been having a great year so far. So we appreciate it.
Let's go back a little bit because I know there's been some good girls volleyball teams over the years, but volleyball for the boys is still kind of on the newer side. Have you ever matched or had a season like this?
No, so this is, we actually looked back at that within the past week, and this is the best start we've had record-wise, really by far. So 10 years ago in 2015 was the only year in Lake Zurich boys volleyball history that we made it to states, and this team has started off stronger in terms of record as well. So, yeah, it is definitely one of the strongest regular seasons that we've had.
Well, Brett, what's made this team so good? Why are you having a great year?
Sure. So I think it definitely starts with senior leadership. We have 8 seniors on our team, and 4 of those 8 seniors, they've been varsity starters since they were sophomores. So we've had a lot of success over the past 3 years, and that really started when these 4 seniors were sophomores starting on varsity. And then they obviously started last year as juniors, and now it's their senior year, and they've kind of taken the lead, and it's really started with them and their senior leadership.
Well, I'm glad you bring up these seniors, but let's get some names. Let's give some notoriety for the guys that have been stepping up and doing everything that they can do to have a great year.
Yeah, of course. So it starts with our setter, Wyatt Jones, who's a senior. He's committed to play Division I volleyball next year at Lewis University. And the big difference with him this year is the past 2 years, he's been setting all the way around front row and back row, where this year he's been hitting from the front row. So he's actually second on our team in kills, and then first on assists. And then it kind of moves to our 2 outside hitters next. Our first one, Gabe Schwartz, who was second team All-State last year as a junior, leading our team in kills this year. And then Conrad Bachanko is our second outside, who's been starting since a sophomore. He's at over 150 kills so far, and has been, just like Gabe, our 2 outsides that really never come off the court. And then our 4th senior, who's a 3-year starter, is Ashton Stage in the middle, who's leading our team with blocks this year, with about, I think he's closing in on 90 at this point. So it should be over 100 by the end of the year.
Do you have any youngsters that have helped out? I know it's your senior dominant.
We do. So, yes, we do. So it's interesting. So we have a lot of senior leadership. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we actually have 2 freshman starters. So we have our new libero this year is a freshman. His name is Nikola Stanjevich, and he's a freshman libero who's been starting the whole year. And then we have a setter, Ilian Oblakov, who's also a freshman, who he's the one who comes in and sets back row when our big guy, Wyatt, is hitting in the front row. So it's kind of the opposite extremes where we have very, very strong senior leadership, and then we have 2 freshmen who are starting, and you would have no idea they're freshmen by how they're playing. They play like upperclassmen. So it's really a combination of those 2 things right now.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed this team has really been able to handle the pressure with invitationals to the conference. You've been finding ways to win, and that's been surprising me.
It has. So one of the things is we talk about how we don't always have to challenge ourselves, but a perfect example is this past Saturday, we were playing Maine South, who's a very strong team. Maine South is always good. They had just beaten Barrington in 2 the night before, and we decided for whatever reason to start down 9-1 to Maine South, which, 9-1 in volleyball is hard to come back for, and we still came back. I think we won the first set 25-20, and it was, we've had a lot of those conversations of no one ever looks, nervous or rattled. Our team is very calm at all times, but we have had the talks of, okay, let's just start a little bit stronger. And, that ability to stay confident and stay kind of even keeled has really helped us in conference matches and tournaments.
Now, you bring up an interesting fact because there's a lot of communication. It's very mental. And how much do you drive on that with your players? Because things can change in a heartbeat when it comes to volleyball.
It changes quickly. I always say that I think the more difficult part of volleyball is the mental part versus physical. It can be tough, and if you have a couple of hitting errors in a row, if you have a couple of serving errors in a row, and the difference I've seen with this team this year versus the past few years is they're never rattled. I've never once noticed in our 29 matches we've had so far, I've never seen negative body language on the court. It's kind of just an error happens, and they kind of all come back together in the middle and huddle, and they just move on to the next point. And that's one thing that really has won us a lot of close matches, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Getting experience is also important. I know the North Suburban, it's always tough. I mean, it's a grind. I don't care what sport it is, and volleyball's the same way, isn't it?
Yes, it's absolutely a grind every match. And then we have teams like Mundelein, a perfect example. They're very strong this year. I think their record is something close to 20-4 or something along those lines. And, they're up there. And it's one of those where you have a team that could be as strong as Mundelein, and they're very senior heavy, very good this year. And I think their conference record might be something around 2-3 because, like you said, everything. It doesn't matter if it's Stevenson or us or Libertyville or Warren this year. It's just every match. I always say every match on every Wednesday is always difficult in volleyball.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you've been coaching for a long time. How much has volleyball evolved over the years? I know there's a lot of club volleyball out there, but
sure.
The player that we see in high school, how much have they improved from like 10 years ago to now?
Sure. I would say it's changed quite a bit. I would say the biggest thing that's changed, like you alluded to, is just there's a lot more specialization. There's a lot more players playing all year round, which can have its pros and cons. I would say the biggest benefits to it is you have players that are playing a lot. So when they come in at the beginning of the season, they look like they're playing in mid-season form because they've just been playing in club tournaments and everything else. So that part has changed drastically. I would say the one drawback that we are dealing with and many teams in the area are dealing with is I think a unintended result of the specialization is there's a lot more lingering injuries and issues, whether it's a shoulder, that's kind of hurting from time to time, or knees with all the jumping. So I have noticed that the idea of kind of taking care of our bodies physically has also been a large part of practice and coaching as well. And I think that's become a much bigger thing over the past few years as well.
Now, I've heard about that because there's that talk of playing, both situations, club and the sport of volleyball at the same time. But you're bringing up the fact about, the safety, the lingering injuries. And I've noticed in some other sports, some coaches have said, hey, we're not going to play as many matches or as many games that we did in the past. Where do you stand on that?
So what I have done this year is if we have a tournament that weekend, because those are always the longest ones, I made my schedule where we have either 1 or 2 matches the week leading up to a tournament and never more than 2. Where in the past, we may have had 3, weeknight matches, and then you go to an all-weekend tournament, and it was just too much. So I tried to make sure that the weeks that we had tournaments on that Friday and Saturday, we had less matches on the weeknights than the other weeks. And the other thing that's changed is we have practices from time to time where it's more recovery days. They're using band work, they're stretching, they're kind of rolling out, and there's some practices that are more physical and some that are less. And I think it's something that you just kind of have to adapt to depending on where your team is at physically that week.
Mhm. Hey, Brett, I know the great time of year postseason is right around the corner, and I bet you can't wait for it. But, I hate to say it, I'm looking at these, these assignments, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's so many teams in the sectional. Is it about time that we make maybe a Class A and a Class AA out there for boys volleyball?
I think when you speak to any coach, that every single coach is 100% in support of that. I've been told each year that we're getting closer and closer to that magic number they're looking for. I mean, what that number is, I guess I'm not sure. But I think that would make a world of difference. Even in our situation right now, we're the overall 2 seed in the sectional out of 31 teams. And even we're, playing in a regional playing game on that first day. So it's, most of the regionals, if you look at it, they're going to have 4 play-in matches on one day, where for girls volleyball, they might have 1 playing game, where it's moves from a 17 or 18 teams in a sectional to most of ours have 30 plus. So I think the hope for everyone is maybe a 2-class system or something else to make it a little bit more manageable would be nice.
I was going to say it's tough when you look at 30 teams in a sectional just to get through, even to make the final 4 in the sectional. Sounds like it's a tough one.
It is. How I've always described it is I'm like every round of playoffs, it's almost like if you're at that next round. A regional semifinal is as difficult as a regional final used to be, in my opinion. So it gets tough each time. And, you look at the top 8, the top 10 in our sectional, and it's very, very strong teams. So every match is definitely difficult, but I think we're ready for it.
All right. What does your team need to do in the next coming weeks to go that distance to make it to state?
Sure. I would say 2 things. I would say the most important thing is staying healthy and feeling good physically going into it. And then as you alluded to, it's the mental part. We always want to be playing our best volleyball going into regionals. It's a long season, a lot of matches, it's a lot of invitationals. That if we are going into the week of regionals with the right headspace and we are feeling good physically, I feel very good about our chances.
All right, Brett Stewart, the volleyball coach over at Lake Zurich for the boys. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Great interview about Brett Stewart talking about his boys volleyball team, and definitely a good time to change gears. We got a special guest, and I know, Dom, you're pretty excited about this, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I'm excited about this because this guest of ours is a player that played 4 years of basketball, spent 2 years at Deerfield, 2 years at Loyola. But to me, I still have this thought in my mind. She's a Lake County basketball player one way or the other because she started there. She did a great job for a few years, got a team going downstate, not only at Deerfield, and then also spent a couple of years going downstate at Loyola. And now she's going to play Division I basketball, the next step next fall. So let's welcome in Aubrey Galvin to the program. How you doing, Aubrey? All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate this. And I've been kind of on the back of Dom saying, hey, we got to get Aubrey on the program. And I know you weren't feeling well over the last couple of weeks. So first off, are you healthy? Are you feeling good? Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you this, Aubrey. I'm gonna pat you on the back. So I hope you don't mind if I do this a little bit. But I have seen basketball players around the state of Illinois, even in Lake County, over the years, and you definitely rank up there to the ones of like Tamika Catchings, Katie Coleman. I mean, these are great names that I'm bringing up. Of course, Tamika Catchings retired from the Indiana Fever, but your skill level, your tenacity, your determination, the way you play on the court showed me so much in all the years that you played out there. So let me ask you this first off. Did you ever expect to see your ability come so far, whether it was at Deerfield and then go into Loyola? Okay, butter up Dom when you get a chance over here. And then she
Well,
nice.
you got to forget, Aubrey also plays and trains with Jewel Lloyd. So
Wow, that was another name too, by the
yeah.
way. She didn't play in Lake County, but I don't know if I told Aubrey this or not, but I used to cover Jewel Lloyd back in her day as well. And the odd story, I'll say this quickly: she was a tennis player that gave up tennis for basketball.
Smart.
And she could have won the state easily and maybe going on to be a big tennis star. I don't know if you knew that or not, Aubrey.
Well, in tennis, you got to go pro early. So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I had that opportunity. So what's it feel like now that you're not out there getting ready for another season? Now you're getting for college. Mm-hmm.
This is Dominic. What is probably the thing I get most excited? I want to say nervous, but most excited about at the college when you get down to Vanderbilt, the college level? Is it going to be the weight room, the workout, or the schedule? What are you kind of excited for? Because I know you're not scared, but what are you excited for? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Aubrey, what's your schedule like ahead of us here for the summer? I know you're focusing more on the college, but what kind of work do you do? When do you go down there? When do you start getting into basketball shape and get ready for a season? Mm-hmm. What have you heard about the SEC? What do you know about it, as in basketball wise? I mean, you hear things, you probably talk to some of the players, but what have you kind of gotten the wind like of what you're going to see? All right, I'm going to throw this to you. What would be the best thing or most exciting thing that you can ever expect in your first year of college?
Yeah. Hey, Aubrey, I got a quick question for you. And I've known you for 5 years now. Remember seeing you as a eighth grader, maybe even seventh grader at the USJN and Nike Tournament Champions. But what was your favorite moment of club basketball or high school? I mean, no, besides winning state, but like a good story of probably from club, because that's where I know you from over the last 5 years, or your favorite. Your favorite. Mm-hmm. No. Yeah. And name those players, your best friends. Yeah, right.
Oh boy.
Yeah, last name's also. Spatula from Crystal Lake Central.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah Weber, or not Hannah Weber, Hannah Naraki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Aubrey, we're out of time. I can talk to you for an hour out here,
Yeah.
but thank you very much.
Aubrey.
Thanks for the memories, especially some of those games that you didn't miss a shot. You had many steals. There's so much that we can talk about. Do me a favor, stay in touch with us too, because I want to follow you through college. Thanks for coming on,
Aubrey. Take care. I'll talk to you later.
All right, she's outstanding player. Yeah. Not just on the court, off the court. Great interview.
Great person.
And she's been really, GCAC Player of the Year. She was fantastic at Deerfield. She was just wild. I mean, just great, So we need to get out of here. Thanks to Aubrey Galvin. Thanks to Brett Stewart from Lake Zurich Volleyball. Also, thanks to Dale Bauman. And thank you to listeners. And thank you, Dom.
Thank you, Rusty.
Coming up next, the big show. Ron Curtis Grace right after this.
It's hard sometimes.
WRLR 98.3 FM LP, Round Lake Beach, Illinois.
Programming on 98.3 The Life is sponsored in part by Oxtail Market in Lake Villa. Oxtail Market is a Schultze Family Farms retail store providing meat products direct from their own third-generation Wisconsin farms. Oxtail Market, they're bringing that farm-fresh experience of steaks and beef to their neighbors in Illinois. Oxtail Market is located at 777 South Milwaukee Avenue, that's Route 83, Unit J in Lake Villa. Their phone number is 224-372-1021. For more information, their website is SchultzeFamilyBeef.com.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the IHSA, are the 333,000 high school sports and performing arts students in Illinois. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, debate team members, and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, officials, and adjudicators. We stand for the drummers, football players, and actors. We stand for the golfers, singers, and swimmers. We stand as the national leader and advocate for these essential activities and all who participate in them and make them possible, because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Hey, cats and kittens. Join me, Gray Dolan, Sunday mornings at 11 for Mood Swings with Gray Dolan. Each week we'll visit a different genre, style, and mood of music here on The Life 98.3.
Sports broadcasting on 98.3 The Life is brought to you in part by the law offices of O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno, PC. 98.3 The Life has an ongoing commitment to Lake County and local high school sports broadcasting. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno also has that commitment and is privileged to support high school sports on local radio. If O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno can assist you in a real estate transaction or traffic matter, they can be reached at 847-675-4790. O'Keefe, Lewis, and Bruno, dedicated to serving our community.
If you're talking, they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect.